This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 193 of The Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening and I hope you're all doing very, very well. So, after 5 weeks, 104 matches, 308 goals, Spain are deservedly World Cup champions, beating the shithousers from Argentina 1-0 in Sunday's final. But even then, before we can take a pulse, the football just keeps on marching on as Arsenal's pre-season training officially started yesterday. With some familiar and some unfamiliar faces returning to sober reality to kick off the pre-season activities. And so we are fully focused on the real important stuff now, like who's fit, who we will buy, who we will sell, and who's got the best tan from their holidays. And of course, the answer is ironically named, now Alanis, take note, Ben White. So he's always going to be the most tan player no matter what happens. But anyway, we're not going to be discussing that in too much detail in today's pod. But what we will be doing is touching on the World Cup with a bit of an Arsenal lens. And then we'll chat about the latest and greatest transfer news and so on. And to help me do that today is Andy. Andy, how are you? And how gutted were you that Merino missed that header to win the World Cup for Spain?
I was actually, because in one of my group chats with my friends up here, I've been kind of tongue-in-cheek half the time. Every time he's came on the pitch, I've just been putting in the goat emoji. So that would have been the ultimate crowning glory for him to have done that in the final, because he did it in, 2 other games? It was Belgium and Morocco, I think he came on and scored?
Yeah, the round of 16 against... Was it? They didn't play Morocco. France played Morocco. No. Round of 16 against Portugal, and then the quarterfinals against Belgium.
Yeah, that was it. It would have been nice for him to make that hat trick, and then I could have went even harder on the goat emojis. Yeah, I think he's had a really good tournament, to be fair. You could see in the celebrations that it meant a lot to him, and that would have been the ultimate way to crown it off for his tournament. Because I think out of those Arsenal players that you were kind of referencing in that Spain team, he's had certainly the most involvement in the tournament, and that would have crowned it off. But I think great for them to get the trophy nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I reacted like it was as if he was playing for Arsenal and he missed that chance. I was like out of my seat and like, oh no, you know, and wanted it so badly for him. It would have been so cool. And then obviously all the jokes came out. Merino would have scored that.
Wait, what do you mean?
No, Merino, you know, the joke throughout the tournament was, oh, Merino would have scored that. So when he missed it, I posted, oh, Merino would have scored that. So there we go. Anyway, so yeah, as we said, look, you know, Spain are deservedly world champions, and they were ultimately, I think, the best team in the tournament, and they may not have been the most pleasing on the eye or the most dynamic going forward, a bit like France, but they were definitely the most technically complete team, the best team, and they didn't go behind once. They only let in 1 goal over 7 games. They conceded 10 shots on target throughout the whole tournament, so it was all very Arsenal-esque. You know, and the great thing, as you said, like, you know, we've now got 3 new World Cup winners in the squad. We've got Merino, who was important for them, Zubimendi, who got on some minutes in the final, and Raya, who was basically there to put out the cones and keep Simon, company. But so pretty like that. So what did you make of the final and Spain being champions and Argentina's approach to the game?
I'll kind of take one of them, each one of them individually. I think the game itself was absolutely woeful, wasn't it? But I don't know what your thoughts were going into it. It was kind of as I'd expected. I had thought that Argentina were going to try and take it in to deep territory again and try and take them into a game that Spain weren't comfortable playing. But I kind of got to the point where I was like, they're not going to get near the ball. France are a much more physically able team than Argentina, and they couldn't get near Spain. They couldn't get near enough to lay a glove on them. And Argentina don't have the legs that France do, and so I just didn't see a game playing out in any other way than I actually ended up. Well, apart from the fact that I thought Spain would win by kind of a couple of clear goals within 90 minutes. I thought they would create a few more chances than they did, but I never seen anything other than kind of a Spain domination, and that's kind of ultimately kind of how it played out. But yeah, I think it was just pretty boring, wasn't it? But to be honest, I think for me the final almost like it kind of summed up the the tournament in a way, like because we've spoken a couple of times and I haven't enjoyed it too much, and I found a few of the most of the games, I think a majority of them pretty stale, and I kind of found that the final was just pretty stale and pretty. There wasn't a huge amount happening up until really when Enzo Fernandez got himself stupidly sent off. And it seemed like, to be honest, there's been this whole thing throughout the tournament about FIFA and their involvement and kind of everything that's gone on off the pitch. And it kind of was drawn into that again through the final with the 30-minute half time, the flyovers and I get you're going to do that, but like when you've got Justin Bieber rolling around and you've got like Ronaldo and Ronaldinho with Madonna, it just felt as if there was a wee bit more like. It didn't feel as if the focus was fully on the football for a final or what should be the biggest game in the world. It didn't feel like everyone's focus within FIFA or within America was on the final, and I think that it obviously didn't play into the game at all because the football teams are separate to the organising body, but it kind of just encapsulated it all, a tournament that's been slightly awkward for me. And it's weird because I remember when we first chatted about 6 weeks ago, I was like, there is a lot of awkward stuff happening behind the scenes, but once the first kickoff happens, you'll forget about it and you'll just get on with it. But for some reason, that hasn't happened for me this time, and I think it's maybe because it's been like one after the other. There was the Raya stuff, and then there's the Balogun, and then there's the some weird Infantino comments, and then there's we're going to make it a bigger tournament next time, and then there's the 30-minute halftime show, and then weird decisions are getting made. And so it just kind of. Yeah, it kind of almost encapsulated the full tournament for me, which I guess in some ways you'd want a final to do, but maybe not exactly in the ways that ended up happening on Sunday.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot to unpick there. I mean, I didn't watch any of the pre-show stuff, and I turned over to watch the World Match Play darts at half time, so I didn't watch the halftime show. I wasn't going to deal with that. But yeah, they really Americanized the football, and I've been to baseball, BA, NFL. In America and especially basketball, they entertain you within an inch of your life. As soon as they go off, so each timeout is like 2.5 minutes long. Literally, as soon as the players are halfway off the court, bang, they roll on either a singer, they roll on some competition, the T-shirt guns, whatever. And 5 seconds before the whistle's going to go, they run off. And there is no moment of calmness or peace or anything, and this is in the build-up, the half times and the timeouts, and baseball it's more like cricket. It's just a constant stream of just chatting and stuff like that, with a bit of action taking place every now and then. And then the same with the NFL. Anytime there's a break in play, there's something on it. We're interviewing a war veteran, we're interviewing this ex-pro, or we're interviewing this, or there's some sort of mascot thing going on or something like that. So that whole piece around it's entertainment first, sport second.
Yeah.
In general, which is not, I think the purists of sports would see it the other way around, but to Joe Public, it's entertainment first, sports second, and I think they approached it that way for the World Cup as well. And then also it's interspersed with the adverts as well. NFL is a very elaborate way to sell goods. At the end of the day, that's what they always say. It basically is a sport designed to sell shit to people, and that's how this works out. And they're trying to
have of Arsenal these days, to be honest.
No, exactly. So that whole thing there. Yeah, I mean, and look, as for the fight, I found it intriguing. You're right. As a spectacle, it was a bit dull. I mean, I did look at some stats. XG was at 2.29 XG to Spain to 0.22 for Argentina. I think 65% possession, Spain to 35. Spain had 20 shots in total. Argentina only had 2, and those 2 were in the final 10 minutes of extra time after they went 1-0 down. Spain had 12 shots on target. Argentina had 0 shots on target. Spain had 32 touches in the opposition box, 8 for Argentina. And also like accurate passes, 763, 89% for Spain, 357, 77% for Argentina. So it's almost, 2.5 times the amount of passing. So, And look, I think Argentina Unlimited, they were playing with 10 men and that was before Fernandes went off, because Messi, I was watching him and he did absolute sweet FA and he was just walking everywhere. And look, granted, look, he's the GOAT and he's there and he can have that moment, he'll make the difference. But you got to credit Argentina. They know their limitations and they defended well, and they know how to defend. They know they played into their shithouseryness, if there's such a word, and they had a plan. I think if the ref had been stricter early on, maybe would have undone that a bit. But what's odd is that when they needed to attack, they could. I mean, they were very close to equalising in that final two, and you wouldn't have been surprised if they had.
Yeah,
And I've just seen the Kabasi clearance. Oh my God, that's nuts. The way he got in front of the attacker and the way he cleared it through the bodies to go out for it. That could have been an own goal, could have gone to the attacker, could have deflected. Yeah, that's nuts. And if it had gone to pens, there was only one winner.
Yeah, 100.
There was.
To be honest, I thought there was only going to be one winner anyway. Like I just thought it was written in the stars for Messi to defend. I thought it was always coming. Like as and when you could. Spain were dominating the game, and they were having shots, but I wouldn't say they were creating very many great chances. No,
they weren't good shots. They were easy saves from Martinez. They were straight down the middle or height wise. Yeah.
We were down at my pals watching it, and we had a barbecue on Sunday, and then kind of all just sat outside watching it, and they were saying, "Oh, Martinez is having a great game," and I was like, he's not made a save you wouldn't expect him to make. I was like, yes, technically he's made what at that point would have been like 7 or 8 saves, but I was like, I don't think any. If one of them goes in, he's made the error. None of them are actually do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you're kind of getting deeper into extra, obviously the game changes when Enzo does that stupid 5 or 10 minutes of madness with a dissent yellow card, and then why he's running at that pace into Kubarsi, who's going to get there first, is just a mental vision for me. And that does change the game. But up until that point, I thought it was just coded for a 1-0 Argentina, something off a set piece, something even similar to the England game where they get a bit of sustained pressure. Messi does something magical, either to score or to pull out an assist from somewhere. I thought it was just written in the stars all day long. But and like you say, had it ever made it to penalties, then that was that's how hard I thought it was going to go. Yeah, as soon as they scored, it was kind of done, wasn't it? Like Spain were always just in control of the game and kind of see it out.
And they should have got 2. They could have got to 2 as well. They should have got 2, or they could have got 2. But go on.
Because I've seen a bit of a discussion about it, and it's maybe not for an Arsenal podcast, but in terms of Rodri, where would you put him in terms of the kind of best midfielders or best sixes of all time? Because when you look at his trophy haul, he's not miles away from it, and it speaks to if he played for Barcelona, if he played for Real Madrid, then there'd be a few more conversations about it. He's obviously had the Ballon d'Or a couple of seasons ago, 4 trophies in a row with 4 Premier Leagues in a row with Man City, treble a few seasons back. He's now won the Euros, he's won the World Cup, had a really, really good tournament. Do you think it's anything to do with the club he plays for, or because I personally
don't know. I mean,
he's up there.
Yeah, I don't know. If he untucked his shirt, maybe I'd like him a bit more. And actually saying that, no, it's quite funny. It's quite old school. It's hard to like him. Yeah, he was class and he was good. And actually, Guardiola predicted it. He said he's going to be brilliant in the World Cup. Best in the world number 6 is I don't know, because he's surrounded by fantastic players. He's controlling things. No, you can't deny. And winning stuff, he's not individually himself winning it. So he's not like he's not doing an Mbappe or a Messi who's winning games for teams, but he's integral to how they play. So I don't think he stands out from that perspective and say, "Oh, look at his trophy haul." His trophy haul's there because it's. Would they still win without him? If that's the question. So, like Argentina wouldn't win without Messi, but France would not win without Mbappe. Could Spain still do really well without Rodri, like they did in the Euros when he had to come off half time? There's an argument there that maybe they could, maybe they couldn't, and stuff like that. Because Spain are more about the collective than the individual. But there's no denying he's a really, really good player, really good player. And thank God he was injured last season, because it would have maybe caused us more hassle. And yeah, he's got an amazing. Well, look, I mean, he's got an amazing haul. But look, I mean, look at Spain as a team. You know, since 2008, so they won the Euros 2008, World Cup in 2010, Euros 2012, Euros 2024, Nations League 2023, Cup just now, and that's not just one team. That's 2 amazing teams. So they go from Xavi, Iniesta, Ramos, Fabregas, and they regenerate. and they win everything all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if you look at Spain from a manager's perspective, they're dominating Europe and England. You got Arteta, Guardiola, Enrique, Xabi Alonso, Iraola, even Unai Emery. You have to give him some kudos for what he does at his level. And then they've got Real Madrid and Barcelona, two of the biggest clubs in the world.
And you look at the age. Look at the age of that.
Spain is where it's at.
Yeah, they've just won the World Cup, but you look at Yamal, 19 years old, Kubarsi, player of the tournament, 18 years old, Pedri, 22, I think, Gavi, youngster.
Yeah. And they got the Olympic gold, I think, as well, last time out or something. Yeah.
So, Nico Williams, certainly not older than 22, 23, so these players have got another 2-3 tournaments in them at least. Yamal maybe even... Well, depends kind of how his legs go. He's played a lot of minutes at 19 years old. You could be looking at... Well, I think you've just highlighted a transition from two teams and the amount of trophies they have won. Whether you can call that a dynasty, I don't know. But like looking ahead, you can, I don't know if you can look like the way they play as well. They don't like you can sub.
It's sustainable.
Yeah, and you can sub in a player and the whole system doesn't fall apart. Like, I feel like if England lose Declan Rice, they're done. If France lose Mbappe, maybe they'll get to a quarter-final, semi-final, but I wouldn't be confident in them and to say they were going to win it. Take Messi out of Argentina, not as half the threat that they are with him. But you take, Rodri, or you take Fabian Ruiz, or you take, even to a certain extent, you take Yamal, because I don't think he had the best tournament. You take Yamal out. He
started off injured, didn't he? So, yeah.
They'll have someone else there that they can, because it's a system team. It's not reliant on kind of one or two magical players. Yeah, I don't know what it means for kind of for European football over the next kind of 10 to 12 years, because they don't look like they're going away.
Well, the next World Cup
in the early 2000s, and it's really it's just breeding players, and it's breeding, like you're saying, managerial talent, and the system works, and no one seems to at the international stage. No one really has a consistent answer to it.
I know, and the way they do it, like I think De La Fuente he's like part of that system. So again, it's a bit like Barcelona. Like they play exactly the same way from when they take him out of the womb right up to the first team, and I think it's the same with the Spain national team. They have a identity, they have a way of playing, and so that's why even like the manager has come through that system. So it's not like they picked a really good club manager and plunked him in there. He's just part of that system, and I think they'll continue developing like that. And it's interesting because the Premier League, where all the money is, it clearly is. From a fan, apart from Real Madrid and Barca, but as a whole, as a league, and this is why they want to do the Super League, because Real Madrid and Barcelona can't get any more money out of that league because it's just they've saturated it, or they've got it. Premier League's all the money, but it's not exactly helped England on the international stage. Now I think so it just goes to show having all the money doesn't mean anything if you don't have the structure in place or the mechanism in order to have that identity, who you are, and then you evolve with that. When Spain because they used to be like back in the 90s and the 80s, always be the also-rans. It's sort of also-rans or perennial failures or not have the mentality. And now, since 28, they just dominated world football. And you can, as I said, the Euros in 2 years' time, that team's going to be great. Okay, it'll be them or England because it's going to be held in, England, Ireland, Scotland. But then in 4 years' time, other than the nonsense in South America, it's going to be Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. Home field advantage. But saying that, I'm pleased that they won. Because I think it would have been okay for Messi. That's fine. You could have taken that, another story, amazing, blah blah. But if that Argentinian team had won, full of horrible players like Fernandez, and many others. So I'm pleased that they won. And then did you see the shenanigans at the end? I mean, it's a bit funny, but also, was it Molina punching Rodri in the stomach? Paredes was chokeholding Garcia, and it all kicks off. And I'm all for a bit of shithousery, but no, that's pretty poor. I can understand they're gutted, but the way after they acted the England game, they did exactly the same. And it's not like Spain were in their faces; they're just running on, being happy. You just got to take your medicine and just. Get off the pitch.
I think the distinction for me is kind of what happens within the 90 minutes and then what happens after it. I think within the 90 minutes, it's that classic, like, all's fair within love and war. There's different ways to play football, there's different styles, there's different approaches, and yes, quite a lot of people didn't like the way that Argentina set up against England. Don't lie, see that first 45 minutes, that was one of the most enjoyable games of football I've watched in so long, because it felt totally different. Like to watch Arsenal, and it's the same game quite often. You watch Spain, it's often the same game. England, often the same game. And it just felt as though it was like almost like a hark back to something you would have seen 20, 30 years ago. And it just felt so refreshingly different. Not everyone's cup of tea, 100% get that. Because it isn't pure. It's the dark arts. It's fouling, it's up and putting your elbow into someone.
Yeah.
I just absolutely loved it. But I loved it when it was in the 90 minutes. I think you need to, if you're going to play there and you're going to do that, you can't let it spill over. Because then you just look like you're throwing your toys out the pram, and you just lose all elements of class. And it's then not a point of, we played that style because we thought it was the best way to win. You've played that style because that's all you can do, and you're really just angry men. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of lose the respect for it a little bit. Like, I mean, I've never going to get into the position of knowing what it's going to feel like to lose one of those games, but I can't imagine it's easy. But I feel like you just have to do your best, and the last thing you can possibly do is punch people. Like, it just comes across as absolutely unhinged. But yeah, they were never gonna beat Spain in a football match, and like I said, had they left it in like the 90 minutes, then I would have almost respected it, to be honest, because like they play the way that they think they can to win the game. But yeah, as soon as it spoiled over at the 90 minutes, it left a bit of a sour taste. But yeah, ultimately, like, it's a lot of these players' last tournaments, and I'm sure they're a bit embarrassed about how they've now left their kind of reputation on a world stage. I think if they had their moment back, they'd probably do it slightly differently. But
well, I don't know. I think they had a parade in Buenos Aires, and no one was seemed to be unhappy about it. So I don't know. Maybe that's just who they are, and they won't apologise for it and stuff like that. So and then there was even like Otamendi was chatting shit with Rodri, and Rodri had the most, what the fuck are you talking about, mate, look on his face. And yeah, I know. I nah, it is what it is. Did you see then at the presentation, Merino doing the taking a piss out of Trump? With his little dance.
That was another. It was always going to happen, Tabs, wasn't it? When you seen Infantino kind of, just that horrible slime ball like walking across in his white shirt
with his massive white trainers. Oh my God, what's he doing?
Trump off the stage. You're like, that's just like, leave it to the players. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how FIFA can make UEFA look like the best organisation that runs football, but they consistently managed to do it. And it kind of I was just sitting there watching. I was like, just get off the stage. Like I said, you always knew it was going to happen. He was going to try and he does it for everything. He's going to try and make the moment about himself. And then, for that, for Infantino to even like have to awkwardly try and get him off the stage and then him to ignore him, it comes back to that whole just feeling of awkwardness and a slight weird sour taste about the whole tournament for me. But kudos to Spain.
There was a picture in I think it was the Guardian, and it was of Spain celebrating, and in the corner was Infantino and Trump, and the tagline was Infantino trying to explain to Trump that he's not a member of the Spanish squad. I think that summed it up perfectly. So
having just
there we go. So
obviously we're now mixing politics and sport, but having just slapped like massive export duties on the Spanish government, and then you're like, that part of your, it's just nuts.
It is nuts. So that was the final, and said, look, glad for Spain and glad for the Arsenal players and good for them. And on the other side, on the day before, there was the Argentina knocked out England in that managerial disaster class from Tuchel. So then England had to play the most meaningless of all games, and they had that fourth playoff, or they've renamed it the bronze medal match to give it a sense of some meaning, but it doesn't mask the pointlessness of it. And I know, I was just saying, especially given the amount of football that gets played these days, and then the players have to hang around a bit, and then nobody cares. The fans, the players don't care, and it was during peak heat in Miami, and then I was out a Bruno Mars concert at Wembley, so I missed. I missed. I was at a family outing to that, and I missed the first half. But when I came out of the stadium, and I heard that Saka and Rice started, I was absolutely furious. I could not. I was thinking before the game, and I think everyone chatted, don't let them near the pitch, don't let them in the stadium, hide their boots, whatever. Just just do not. And they said, "No, they're not going to play." It's obvious, Saka's been injured. Rice has got his back pain. If Madueke Eze play, I was fuming. I mean, what did you make of that decision? And then the sort of the match that the insane 6-4 match.
I won't lie, mate. I didn't watch it either. I was also out at not quite a Bruno Mars gig, but I was out at a gig in the south side. And yeah, I haven't even watched the highlights, to be honest, mate. I know the score was 6-4, so I've not seen a bit of it. But to be honest, on one hand, it's another 90 minutes, and it wasn't the most intense game. So yes, it's not great, but does it really matter that much? Probably not. They weren't going to ever leave the team early, so they, you know what I mean? It's not as if their holiday was started 3 days earlier. To me, I wouldn't have played them. I don't get it, but I kind of begin increasingly coming back to why aren't the players just self-excluding? I think there's an element.
You say to Rice is never going to go, "No, I don't want to play for England, boss."
Why not?
They're never going to do that.
I get it in a competitive match. 100% get it. And I'd put this at Gabriel playing for Brazil last November when he went in a tournament in a friendly at the Emirates. I get why he wants to play in it, but he then gets himself injured and he's not been the same player since. I think 15, 20 years ago there was almost this culture of self-excluding from international games, more so friendlies than tournaments, obviously, but it was a lot more common. It was almost a running joke. The manager would announce the team sheet, and then Sky Sports News over the next 3 or 4 days would just be a laundry list of 6 or 7 Premier League players that have dropped out. You just don't see it anymore. I think it's probably good you don't see it anymore, because that I don't agree with that. I think there is an element of if Saka's injured, if Rice is injured, whoever else it might have been in obviously Saliba didn't play, but say it was Saliba, they are ultimately the custodians of their own body, and they are in the best place to say whether they can play or not. And I think they would have said, "Oh, I can play." Do you know what I mean? It is on Tuchel to also not play them, but I think you can't put it all at Tuchel's door.
I know, but this is where managers have to also manage players and say, okay, look, you'll always say you want to play, so I'm going to tell you can't play, and stuff, because I thought it was negligent from Tuchel. As far as I think it's negligent, because it's a weird one with Saka. So it's a weird one. He said he was fit. And granted, he's hardly played, but he's nursing an Achilles. And actually, they both, by the way, played the full 90. So they didn't get subbed. They played the whole game. And there was one moment where it was 4-2 or something. And I saw Rice having to sprint to chase. I can't remember. It was Barclay. Whenever the fast forward, he was sprinting the halfway line, trying to chase him into England's box. And you think, what the fuck? No, but yeah, you've got to protect the players from themselves, because I think the players will always they'll want to make up for losing to Argentina. It is a glorified friendly, but a chance to get third and the highest finishing team for an England team since World Cup 66. And I think that's partly why Tuchel did it. He was trying to save face from that nonsense that he produced against Argentina, and trying to save face. So he's going to try and play a relatively strong team. But then he takes out Kane, who plays in a farmers league and is no bother, and there's nothing wrong with him. He takes out other players, Anderson and stuff like that. But no, Saka, who's been struggling with an Achilles injury, Rice, who's complaining about back pain, but he'll run through a brick wall with no legs if you told him to. So I don't know. And then also begs the question: well, why didn't Saka play then against Argentina? So what happened there? So again, more mismanagement in terms of okay, it was going to be a physical game, so you understand why Rodgers would play over Saka maybe to start with, because if Saka's a bit fragile, if you know what I mean, then maybe. But then when you're desperate, even for the last 5 minutes, if you're desperate for a goal when you're 2-1 up, bring him on. He's something that can do something. So I don't know, but Saka scored a hat-trick, so okay, nice for him to get that. Rice scored. Rice got an assist as well. So okay, so some footballing outcomes were quite nice, but I'm not sure. And they did get third place, and okay, so maybe a medal or whatever. But no one really cares. It was a glorified friendly, and it should even be. I mean, I even feel that Mbappe's goal should not count towards the tally, because they got knocked out of the tournament.
Yeah.
So why should these goals count towards the tally? It is a glorified friendly. So I don't know if the positive outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, you've maybe it's just a classic case of competing interests there, because you have kind of said Tuchel would have wanted to kind of save a bit of face having pretty much shit at the bed against Argentina. So therefore, he's going to pick his strongest team. And maybe we are, as Arsenal fans, I don't think we are personally, but there might be an argument there saying that maybe Rice is not as injured as we think, and we're just worried, and Saka isn't as injured. He has shown an ability. I guess Kane might have said, "Oh, look, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to play." Bellingham didn't start, I don't think.
No, he didn't.
He said, "I'm not injured. I'm injured," or whatever. I struggle. Why would there's something else that's obviously happened that we'll never be privy to? But why would he give it to Kane but not to Rice and Saka? Unless Kane has put his hand up and said, "I don't want to play," or "I can't play," or for whatever reason, because the two and two don't quite marry up for me. And I think when that sort of stuff happens, and he is quite clearly resting players, because if ultimately it was all about saving face, Harry Kane starts that match. Right? That's.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen him this tournament? He's been when it comes to playing anyone decent, he goes missing. I mean, so you know, and there was no chance of him stat padding against France. Well, actually, he could have stat padded against France. So the way France treated it in the first half with the exact disrespect it required.
But I just think, like, I think Tuchel's always. Because I agree, he's getting absolutely blasted in the media for that final 10-15 minutes against Argentina. So he was always going to try and win it. And I just think, I don't know, I put more personal responsibility on Rice and Saka than most.
Interesting.
Because I think they know their bodies best. And maybe they haven't self-excluded themselves, or they haven't said, "Oh, I'm actually feeling something," because maybe we ourselves are overestimating how injured or how tired they are. Maybe they're okay. I don't know. I don't think they are personally. They should. They deserve a rest, and they deserve the next 4 weeks of a break. But we could be overestimating.
Well, I hope so, but I doubt it very much. But yeah, they're finally on their holidays, and I hope we don't hear or see anything from them for at least 3 to 4 weeks. So Arsenal have had half a decent World Cup. You know, Kai Havertz scored 3 goals, Saka 3 goals, 3 assists, Trossard 2 goals, 2 assists, Merino 2 goals, Odegaard 4 assists, Rice a goal and 2 assists, Gyökeres a goal and 2 assists, Martinelli a goal, Eze a goal, and Gabriel Magalhaes an assist. Sorry, Eze an assist and Gabriel an assist. So that's 28 goals and assists. That's not too bad. I don't know how it compares to others, but that seems pretty strong turnout for the boys. And they said we've got 3 World Cup winners coming back, but also I think for the players that did win the World Cup, Zubimendi and Merino, it's not going to take it out of them as such. As in, you know, they didn't play a huge amount. Okay, they're away. They have a good holiday, but they should be fresh for the season. Raya will be fresh for the beginning of the season, and actually, it's a positive, I think, for someone like Merino who didn't play much time. It's actually got his fitness levels up. So I think they'll all be good. It's actually been good for Odegaard to get a bit of form back, get his old self back. So I think it's been good, and you know, and even Havertz playing again, get some of that fitness back and all the rest. And even Saka, maybe we've just seen that this is the beginning of him being better and so on. So yeah, I'd expect to see him, you know, fairly early in the season. Maybe not against Coventry, but definitely I would expect against Aston Villa and Chelsea. But let's see. But yeah, it's funny. You said you weren't one for this World Cup. I said, if I ignore all the Infantino and Trump BS, I actually really, really enjoyed the tournament and more than I expected. I think it's maybe because I had no.
What about it? Why? What was it you liked?
I don't know. I had no skin in the game, so there was nothing. I couldn't get upset. So if Italy are in the tournament and we get knocked out, then I can't enjoy the next round because I can't enjoy the quarterfinals because Italy are not in the quarterfinals. And eventually you get to carry on enjoying it. So because I had no skin in the game as such, I didn't have to be worried about a particular team and outcomes or rest of it, so I can just enjoy the game as it is. I'm also a bit fascinated by the US as a country, and I'm also, I just like the colour and the razzmatazz of it all, and just even just things like the way players over celebrate and the whole pylon from all the substitutes and everything, and just the grand scale of it all and stuff like that, and just even just waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning watching highlights of a game that I don't know the result, and I've got 10 minutes of World Cup football so I don't know, I just like it. So I'm missing it already, really. I was just like, and I forgot how much I really enjoy it. Just you know, and you know, because and there's last minute goals and just everything that comes with it, and you don't get it with domestic football and it's international football. Now, normally, I hate international breaks and the international football and qualifiers and all that bollocks, but tournaments and the World Cup tournaments, just something about it and stuff like that, and just the way they did it. And I've watched I love a good montage, and the closing credits of the BBC coverage. And I made sure I stayed to watch it in the end. They did it all to "Sweet Child of Mine," and it was, go and look it out,
Right.
because it is really good. Just to, you know, they do a whole montage of like the whole tournament, and the skill involved in doing this and the way they time it and all the rest of it is top quality. And I love. I even remember them from the years gone by. I love like the montages and stuff like that at the end, because I think it's all good. So yeah, I just sort of just like the whole sort of thing, and I guess because it's rare, you sort of enjoy that. But yeah, it's going to take me a couple of days to get over it, because all of a sudden it just suddenly stops. That's it. You know, like there's a game every day, 3 days a week. You know, it's 10 o'clock at night. And, oh great, I'm going to watch a World Cup match. You know, how nice is that? Instead of just sort of like, you know, last night I had no idea. There was no Wimbledon. There's no tennis. There's no cricket. There's no. I was like, it's like 9 o'clock. And what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with myself? I'm watching the Tour de France. That's about it.
Don't let Karen hear you saying that, Tab. She'll give you jobs.
I have to find something to do. I even went to bed like at a sensible hour. Like, it was like, what? It's like,
No, one thing I'll give you the aesthetics of it. I like. I mean, and I think the kits were unreal this season. Like, anything, slap a trefoil logo on anything and I'll buy it. Like, I think the kits were unreal, and the stadiums. One thing America does do is brilliant stadiums. Some of the way the screens wrap around in the stand, like it did look, and half of them didn't have roofs. It did look really, really impressive. So I think everything around, like the kind of aesthetic of the tournament, looked really, really good. The pitches, unreal. Because there was a bit of a question mark about that before the tournament, wasn't there? About the quality of the pitches. That was all good. Just thought football was fairly disappointing, to be honest. And ultimately, that's what you're there for. So I think that's why I've maybe not connected with it as much. I thought, Scotland probably played a bit into that as well. Maybe similar to what you're saying about Italy, like Scotland kind of flattered to deceive. And outside of the Tartan Army doing a decent kind of reputational enhancement job in Boston, I think it's been a pretty dismal World Cup for Scotland, so maybe that played into it. But even outside of that, like I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was potentially going to. But yeah, roll on the Euros, because I've always tended to prefer the Euros anyway. But yeah,
well, that's weird, because the Euros but because also there aren't really teams in the world that I dislike as such, you know, and stuff like that. Whereas Europe, there are more teams that I can get to. I don't like them. So again, you start to sort of like get that bit, and then also obviously Italy should be in there. Whereas the World Cup, there's the World Cup, there's less of those sort of teams, you know, that I hate them as an international football team, and I don't know, the World Cup, it just seems a bit removed. Euros seems, again, the closer you get to home, the more you start to dislike teams and play, and then also teams are more full of players that you don't like because you see them in the Premier League, and so therefore, you know, so because it's the World Cup and 4 or 5 removed, I have less of that negative aspect of it. So we see, but anyway, it's done, and full focus on Arsenal. But before we get to Arsenal, as always, just a quick favour. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a nice little 5-star rating, leave a subscription on the podcast apps, on YouTube channel at The Grove AFC, wherever you watch or listen. It really helps with the listeners, subscriber numbers, helps spread the word. So if you haven't done so already, spend a couple of minutes doing that, and we really appreciate it. And if you have done so, thank you very much, and hope you keep enjoying the show, enjoying the pod. Okay, so it's all Arsenal now, all Arsenal from here on in. And the biggest news to come out the last few days, actually, on Saturday, I think it was before Bruno Mars took stage, or England kicked off against France. It was. We heard the news that Morgan Rogers was making the worst decision of his life, joining that clown car of a club from West London. I know when we discussed last time, you weren't a huge fan of him from a fit perspective, but leave that to one side. What did you make of that move, that news? What do you think it means in terms of our summer transfer business, in terms of what we do in the left attacking forward area?
Yeah, I thought it did come as a massive surprise, because although I wasn't, like you're saying, I wasn't completely enamoured with the move, I did think it was going to get done. So when that came through on Saturday, I was like, there was two things that made me kind of stop and almost read the tweet 2 or 3 times. It was the fact that he was going to Chelsea, who finished 10th, and the money. Like, it just seemed absolutely insane amount of money for a player who, yes, is good, but record English. See, I don't know. But yeah, so I think, because I kind of went back and forth on this, because if you believe what you read, Morgan Rogers was our top target for this season, and there now seems to be a kind of building amount of evidence that we don't secure our top targets, which I think is probably, certainly for me, is an increasing concern. So you've kind of got that part. You've got Mikel Arteta has identified his top target, and we've not done it again. But then there's the other side of it where I'm like, well, we apparently were led to believe that we could get it done for 80 million. And then if someone comes in and puts 117 million, which is what, nearly 50% higher transfer fee than what we've been led to believe, at some point you do have to have a valuation and you do have to stick to it, because if you don't, you're almost negotiating position isn't worth anything, because people know you're going to fold the minute that something changes. So there's so much to unpack in this, because on one hand I'm like, this is now almost like a consistent theme of not getting the players that Arteta wants, but I wouldn't want us to have spent 117 million on Morgan Rogers. So it's kind of like I'm holding two competing thoughts in my brain at once. One of the things I did want to get your opinion on was, because obviously I think the last time we spoke, Tabs, and it's certainly been exacerbated and magnified since then, is the approach that Berta takes to signing these players. And my brain immediately went to Declan Rice. And we obviously played, at the time, was a British record transfer fee, 105 million, our club record transfer fee. And I don't think anyone in the world would say that we've overpaid for him at all. It's like the classic song, we got him half price. Do you think if in a parallel universe, Berta had come in a couple of seasons previous and hadn't been and it hadn't been Edu, do you think we would have got Declan Rice if we'd have followed the same approach that Berta did, knowing that Man City were kind of circling?
I think if you really want someone, you'll get them. So we really wanted Declan Rice because we knew he would be a game changer. You know, when you pay a record fee, you know, you said he's now the most expensive English player. You want to be buying certainty. That is not the case with Rodgers. And when we make these decisions, when Arsenal make these decisions, it's a group decision. It's not one person alone. There's multiple people involved. Arteta, you know, and then up to the Cronkies to a certain extent. So I've got the feeling if you really want him, you'll get him. And we really wanted Rice because we knew he would be a game changer. Rodgers would supplement our team. Is he better than anything we've got? No. Is he better than some of the options? Yes. But is he 117 million worth of better? You know, stuff like that. And my sense is that yeah, and we were offered the chance. So you're right. We valued him at around 90 million max. We could even go to 100 million. But we definitely weren't going to 117. And so when we were offered him, you know, he's yours if you want it for 117 million. And apparently we were going to finalise the deal this week, discuss, and then Chelsea do what Chelsea always do. Oh, Arsenal like this player. Hey, we're going to play over the odds to get him because we don't give a shit about money and we don't get, you know, reprimanded for making stupid decisions and things like that. And it's only the Anderson deal with City go for 116 that changed it. It basically skewed the market, and I think City are doing this also potentially deliberately because they know the impact. Because for them, it doesn't make no difference. They can spend 16 million extra unnecessarily, and it's fine. I mean, look, Reindeer is whatever his name is on the market now. They got him last season, hardly used him that half of the season, spent God knows whatever. Oh, we'll ditch him now. We'll make a bit of a loss, but that doesn't matter. We can suffer it. Arsenal and even Chelsea do the same. They are very good at flipping players. Okay, they're still fucking nonsense of a club and all the rest of it. When Arsenal make these massive financial decisions, we cannot afford to make £100 million mistake. Okay, so I think if he really wanted him, and he's a success, it doesn't matter what you pay for him. Yeah, I just don't think we 117 million wanted him. But then it must mean, then we must be confident in our alternatives. Yeah. The thing that gets me is that he's a unique profile. So then what's our strategy? The Rodgers is a unique profile. It's not like, we'll it's not like you go from Barkler, we'll get Doué, or we'll get, you know, Vinny Jr., or whatever, because they're of a like. You know, even Rashford. Rashford's maybe more Rodgers, whatever. But what's then the alternative? So if you're not going Rodgers, are you now changing your strategy in terms of how you're going to play and what you want to do? And that's the bit that I'm uncertain about, because yes, you have your evaluation, and maybe they do. Maybe they have multiple strategies. So okay, we've got different objectives depending on who our ultimate squad is, and we'll be fine either way. Okay, because if we get X, that means we get Y. But if we get A, then we need to get B. So I think, but we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with the Rodgers deal, Chelsea can guarantee him first team football week in, week out. We couldn't do that because we didn't. Yeah, he would. Okay, he was never going to be a guaranteed starter week in, week out. Yeah. So where's Chelsea?
It was.
No.
Yeah.
No. Well, then so what about Eze? Does he guarantee start, or does he now supplant Eze?
You don't spend a 90 odd million and he's not a guaranteed starter. Like, we don't value him up to 100. Between 80 and 100 million, he's not a guaranteed starter. Yes, it asks an awkward question about Eze, but Rodgers would have played most games that he was fit. Unless he was rested or injured, he would have played the games.
Okay.
I'd struggle to believe that.
Yeah, so that would be likely then on the left attacking forward, shall we say. Left wing. He's not a left winger, but left wing. He's had interviews at the beginning of the year. His preference is to play more midfield than left side. So even though for Villa he was 50-50 last year, his preference is to play more inside. So not only can Chelsea guarantee him week in, week out, can guarantee him week in, week out in his favourite position. So I think he was going to be able to eat that up because he's coming to Arsenal and all the rest of it. But apparently Chelsea showed him more love or money, depending on how you want to term it. And they will be able to offer him just more guarantees across the board. But it does bring into question our operatings. Well, if we could have had him for 80-90 million, why are you waiting until after the World Cup? Why couldn't you have just got this done before City skewed the market, knowing City were going to do something stupid, or whilst the Anderson deal was going, right, we better get in here before City pay up what Forest wants, get in quicker. Why not? Because we've not been talking to him last week. We've been chatting to him for months, So, but then there's two parts. Look, fair play to Villa. I don't blame Villa. Fair play to them. They should be doing the best for their business. So if they want to ask for whatever they want, if someone's prepared to play them, fair play. But
yeah, and I fall out of Man City skewing the market 100%, and they have absolutely we operate in a market. They don't have to have, and the tribalism involved in the Arsenal Villa relationship. They're not going to have Arsenal's best interests at heart, but ultimately they've got their own financial concerns. So they need to get the best price that we expect to get the best price we possibly can for Martinelli. They're going to do the same for Morgan Rogers. Slightly different because he's a kind of a marquee player that a top team wants, whereas Martinelli's slightly different. But ultimately, they are in it to get the best price and to suit themselves, which is absolutely fine. I agree, 117 million is too much, but I am increasingly concerned that we're almost acting like we've always acted. And I think for me, when we won the league and all of those comments came out from, it wasn't just one layer of Arsenal, it was Arteta, it was Josh Kroenke, it was everyone. It was, we're going to move quickly, we've identified our targets. Even on the pitch after the Champions League final, David Ornstein, who's not one to mince his words, talked about 3 or 4 players and 300-400 million of signings. And it seems to me like we're doing what we've always done, where we've got this moral and this probably very data-driven and evidence position on a player's valuation, which is noble and grand. But see, when you're operating in a market that has been distorted by a club who has, I think, deliberately distorted the market, you need to update those morals and priors, because Aston Villa have updated theirs. Because they had 80 million and ours sounded as though it was in line with that valuation back at the start of June. Elliot Anderson happens, the market changes, you need to change with it, because the selling clubs do. And it worries me there's 2 things that worry me about the Bruno Guimaraes transfer. One is, well, 3 actually, sorry. 1, the relationship with Newcastle. 2, we're going in for their captain and their best player. And 3, the valuation. Because I think this exact same thing's going to happen again, because we're not dealing with easy clubs to deal with. We're trying to take the best players away from teams who ultimately we've probably had outside of City, we've probably had the biggest rivalry with Newcastle and Aston Villa over the past couple of seasons. Certainly, I think they think that, maybe to a lesser extent us, but they feel like they've been competing with us. Maybe less so now because we've gone and won it. But I think for a good few seasons there,
but there's a bit of animosity there between the two clubs. Yeah,
exactly, and they thought they were taking our place in the top four. Blah 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 blah. And
it's fine. It's like Villa fans are celebrating the fact that Morgan Rogers has gone to Chelsea. Fucking idiots. You're celebrating the fact that you've lost. Oh, okay, fellas, that you've taken him for a ride.
Yeah.
But they're celebrating because he's not going to Arsenal, that club.
And that's just football tribalism.
Chelsea?
That's football tribalism, and that's fine. Like, to be honest, like I would do the same. Like back in the day when we were selling players, like Man City, I'd much rather sold them to Barcelona, whatever. But there's just something that worries me that, like, if we've got a valuation for Bruno, and Newcastle now have an updated valuation for Bruno based on Elliot Anderson, but probably more so Tonali and the 100 million that they've sold, because they don't need to sell. We are going to end up in a position where we're almost like cutting our nose off to spite our face, because at some point you need to buy someone, because if you don't, the only team that suffers is Arsenal, and it's Declan Rice because he gets overplayed. So at some point we're going to need to budge with these valuations. I appreciate and 100% accept 117 million is too much for Rodgers, and I'm fine with that, provided another left winger comes in. But I'm just slightly concerned about this Bruno transfer now, because we 100% need a midfielder.
Yeah, again, it's only too much if you don't if you don't play him where he doesn't succeed in a way. That's it. So that's a hard one. It's a hard one. Yeah, this is it. Our strategy. We have our valuations. We also spin multiple plates. Do players then feel wanted? Are we too arrogant? We're either naive or arrogant. So it's a weird combination, because it's two sides of the same coin, but complete opposites. Because at the end, money talks, and players make emotional decisions based on being wanted and the money they're being offered. So that he's going to a club not in Europe, no Champions League. Okay, look, they should be in Europe the following season. He's going to that fucking clown car of a club, who've seen like through multiple managers. So again, Alonso, I'm a bit concerned about Chelsea because they've got a decent manager and they've got some decent players, and they haven't got anything to worry about next season. So there's, as Arteta said, we need to be fast, smart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it fast, smart, and ambitious? Okay. Look, there's still a long way to go. The window's not over. And again, look, we will have options. We will be able to pivot. But the more times you pivot, the more desperate you are. And guess what? Oh, you're desperate now. We're going to charge you even more. So, like, people aren't dumb. So then there's like your opportunity cost. So, well, if you've missed out on him, they're suddenly going to know that, and they're suddenly going to raise it. So, and you're right, we're in that field where we don't need to raise the floor anymore. It's about raising that ceiling, and that is bloody hard. So unless you throw ridiculous money at it,
it's bloody hard.
How do you get these?
Exactly, and it's bloody expensive. Yeah. And like at some point, we either just hold our noses and we pay the money, and we get the players that we actually want, or we don't sit and complain when we don't win the Champions League, because you can't have both.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here, but look at Liverpool last summer. We all panicked because they spent 300 million on Wirtz, Isaac and Ekitike, and then look what happened to them. And actually, they spent big, but in the wrong areas. Big holes in defence and midfield. But hey, they had an amazing, exciting summer. Now, actually, if I was to say to you, actually, we don't spend any money, but our current squad stays fit for the rest of the season, I think you'd be very close to saying keep the squad as we are, fit for the rest of the season. I know it's an unrealistic thing, but we are a very, very good team as we are, and we will compete as we are. But we know everything around that.
Yeah. It's not. We've got this. It's not the same as. It's not the same as Liverpool though, because Liverpool put the money into the wrong places, and I think what I talked about last time was about fund allocation, and they've signed in the wrong areas. We need to sign a left winger. Like we've sold our, we've sold Trossard.
Well, we have sold a left winger. He's having a medical today.
Well, yeah, but we need to sign an elite left winger and probably another midfielder. Yeah. Sorry, absolutely another. And like, we're not talking about we're missing out or we're spending 150 million on like Upamecano or someone. Like, we're actually missing it. Like, it's the equivalent. If Liverpool would have spent the Isaac money on a centre back last season, they'd have been a hell of a lot better team. We're not talking about us misallocating funds. We're actually just not delivering in the position. Well, not yet. Yeah. I think we will. We're just not yet delivering in the positions that we actually need to. And there's been a gap for about 3 seasons now.
Yeah, but it just goes to show, just if you spend big money, doesn't always give you success. Even if you spend it in the wrong places, you would expect, fine, we'll just Newcastle it and score more goals than we let in. And they just never got to that point where they scored more goals than they let in. I'm hoping that, Morgan is the new Mudryk and Zolis is the new Trossard. It's a big hope, but you never know. You know, players have gone to Chelsea and failed miserably, and stuff like that. So, because there's a lot to be said about the culture and the club, and eventually, your true self comes up. The other thing, we're trying this self-sustainable model. Now, that's fine when you're top six ever. You can flip players, you can sell players, bring them in. Wages are lower. The people that you buy are lower. Whatever. Everyone is now on top wages, so that eats into your bottom line hugely. And the players you want to get in will be top wages, and they will cost top money. So is it possible to have that self-sufficient model? Now, I've also read that, on the one hand, we made shed load of money last year, but also we made a 60 million loss this year. So is that impacting us? Is that, are we, do we have to be self-sufficient, or, as you say, cronkies if you want to continue this? And I think for us, I think the main thing is there's an opportunity here, and we could be, invest now for later. Now, I know they invested a load of money last year, and we forget we got Nketiah, and so we've already spent 80 million this summer already. So yeah, it's a tough one. And then we got the selling side of things to do, and that takes up capacity, brain space, and in a way you're just like a whole different department to just deal with selling. Yeah. So right, sell Jesus, sell Vieira, sell Nelson. Nelly apparently is up for grabs now. But that may be distracting as well. And have you seen the latest with what's his name from West Ham?
About 18 million.
80. So I mean, I know. Okay, fair enough. He's going to Saudi, I believe. But if he's going for 80 million,
Championship club. They're a championship club, and they've got 80 million for two players. It baffles me. I don't get it. Like, surely they should.
But we're not going to get more than 45 for Nelly.
We won't get more than 35 from Martinelli. I get it. Like, we won't get more than 35. I get it. So 10 on it. Like, where does he go? Well, that's the thing. And why isn't he fucking going to this? I get a guy, he may not want to, and some of the different players, different motivations and whatever. But yeah, it's just it's just nuts. So yeah, look, it is that for me. It is that opportunity cost, because we're sitting there like looking into a new season of having just won the league, got to a Champions League final, we're a couple of kicks away from doing the double. You're then met with the kind of euphoria of the kind of trophy parade, and then some very targeted statements from your owners, which they've done before. Remember that whole be excited thing? They've done it before. So there must be something going on. But like, you're sitting here right now, you're going, that what we've done hasn't chimed with what we heard 4 to 6 weeks ago. If anything, we've gone backwards, because yes, we've retained Hincapie, but we had him last season, and we've swapped out Trossard for an unproven Greek player. So I think technically, standing here right now, we are in a worse position than we were last season. And you're looking at this like opportunity for next season and the next 5 years of no Pep Guardiola. Who knows what Iraola is going to do? He's only signed a 2-year contract. Alonso could go in. I think he will do quite well, but who knows? He could be out of a job by December, depending on how it goes. Man United probably aren't going to be as good as last season, because they've got a hell of a lot more games within Europe. And you're like, well, this is our opportunity to just kind of double down, go again, invest, and consolidate a position of power from a position of power. But we're like, but then I'm like sitting here I'm getting to a point of frustration, but then I'm like, well, logically I wouldn't have spent 117 million, so then it kind of takes it. But then I'm like, well, what's next? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's because, look, we've now lost out twice. Okay, so both two ends of the spectrum. We lost out on Morgan. We lost out on Rodgers and lost out on the guy from Leicester City.
Oh, Monga.
I've forgotten his name. Yeah, Monga. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I misspelled it in my notes. So two ends of the spectrum, but both for money reasons. So I wonder, as I said, so I can understand why we feel uneasy. There's still a long way to go. The transfer window and the deals we do. So I said, I'm trying to make excuses. The deals we do take a lot longer. The deals we do it the way we do them take longer, because we're not just going to slap down, right, you want 117 million, we'll give you 117 million. Otherwise, deals are easy to do if you pay the money that teams ask for. They're piss easy. Yeah, okay, I want this one. All right, here you go. Fine, done. So I think we're just uneasy, and I think there's question marks about our transfer strategy. But again, we can't really judge it until the end of the season and end of the summer and the impact it has. The other thing is as well, Arteta hasn't signed that contract now. I don't know if he's been given to and he's holding off or whatever, but there was all the talk before the end of last season, new contract, then at the end of the new contract, and that's still unsigned, and I wonder if potentially he's holding off to see how the board act and react and so on, if they deliver on his wishes, and whether that is an implication. So again, that's another bit of uneasiness there, and that would be the biggest loss of everything here if as a result of not investing, would be that. And then we're back to how we've been in the past, where we get to the point and we just don't do that next step. So yeah, I'm uneasy, but not all doom and gloom, because you just trust that we're good at pivoting, we go to our next level, but we need to show that
We are good at pivoting,
somehow.
but and this kind of said it maybe 20 minutes ago now about this theme that's emerging of us not getting our top targets and not getting Mikel's top targets, because I agree that is the had Morgan Rogers been the first one that Mikel had identified as this kind of mercurial player, totally perfect for the system, and we'd missed out on him, fine. But you go back like 4 or 5 seasons, Mudryk, yes, bullet dodged, but at the time, a top target that we didn't get. Pivoted to Trossard, it worked out well, but still, it's an example of not getting a top player. Even to last season, apparently we were in for Isak, apparently we were in for Rodrigo, apparently we were in for Sesko. We got Gyökeres, Madueke, and Eze, but we only really got Eze because Havertz got injured. So it's like,
and we won the league.
No, I know, and I'm not saying. I get that, but I'm just saying there's this kind of consistent theme that's come, and now this season we've had Rodgers.
Yeah.
There's this consistent theme building that we're not actually delivering what Mikel wants, and I think in that scenario he's probably well within his rights to maybe just take a pause, because I think he probably will sign, and I think we will give him players that mean we can go and do maybe, I don't know, 3 out the next 6, just to put a number on it. But it is, I think that's why there's a slight concern, because I think it's almost like the boardroom equivalent of why we were getting worried in April, or sorry, why most people were getting worried in April, because like we've seen all this before, and we see the wheels come off season after season, and it's not quite that bad. But I've seen now quite a few instances of not delivering our top targets, and yes, to a certain extent, the alternatives have delivered. I think Trossard's the best example of that, but I think
that's an extreme one, and how many times does that happen?
Well, exactly, but like there's only so long that like Arteta's like continue to be able to work magic with these kind of second or third choice players, until he's just like, well, I can go and that team over there are going to act like Chelsea, are going to act like Man City, and they're going to pay the big bucks, because ultimately, like I said, we operate in a market, and if you want a player, you need to pay what the selling team value them at. And sometimes it makes you uncomfortable, and sometimes it makes you kind of hold your nose. But ultimately, if the prize is winning 3 out of the next 6 Premier Leagues and 1 or 2 Champions Leagues, then I don't think anyone's going to be sitting here in 5 or 6 years' time raging that we overspent by 2025.
No. It just feels like we're turning up to a gunfight with a water pistol sometimes. So we'll see. And look, our next big headache is Saliba. He had to come off during the semi-final versus Spain. With I messaged Mitch, a friend of the pod, Dr. Mitch, about what the issue was, and I think we're technically known as a fucked back or something of that, something like that. Something that he'd been dealing with latter part of the season. It could even stem back to the Sporting game when he went off. I think back in 22, when him and Tomiyasu both had to go off in that quarterfinal, whatever it was. He's been touch and go throughout the World Cup. He's been doing nominal training, just playing matches, and then it just finally went, and he just couldn't take any pain anymore. Now there's talks of surgery, basically 4 or 5 months out of action. Whatever it is, it's not good, and he's likely to be out of action for a while. So what do we do? Yes, we have Mosquera, a great defender, but would you rely on him as a Saliba replacement for 4 or 5 months? And Timber can both play right centre back. What state are they in? So yeah, like there's rumours of Konza from Villa. He's 28, decent, Premier League proven, can play right centre back, can play right back, but that's very much dependent on the asking price. I've heard some anywhere between 40 and 60 million. And then the other one being mentioned in dispatches is Stones, who's 32, out of contract, free transfer, high wages. Good player, again, injury concerns. Yeah, I don't know. What's your approach to this? What's your feeling? How do we deal with this?
I think
another shit show of a situation.
Yeah. Well, I think the priority has just got to be looking after like the best centre back in the world. I think our priority has to be whatever sort of diagnosis he ends up with, and if it means he sits down for 4 months, if it means ideally he doesn't sit down, but if at a minimum, let's say it's like 4 to 6 months, I think we just need to kind of almost invest in his future career at that point and just let him get on with it. If it's surgery, if surgery is the way to go, then there's no question in my mind that just get it done, and he does it now rather than trying to play through another season. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. We've kind of got over the line. The pressure release valve has to a certain extent been released. It's now time to kind of look after those elite players. Well, if Declan Rice does have a more longer term injury, I'd put him in that category as well, and that's why I'm so hot on this Bruno transfer. But to be honest, in terms of how you then manage that 4 to 6 month and how you cover that while he's out of the team, I think the simple answer is you don't. Any player that you bring in is going to be a downgrade from William Saliba. It just is. And then because of that, I just don't see the value. I'm not even going to go near John Stones because I just don't think it's totally pointless. I think that's a deal that Arsenal in maybe like 2014 or 2022 when you're trying to get top four. Yeah,
interesting.
That I wouldn't go near John Stones. Too injury prone. I just don't really see the point. And I'd rather almost go into the season with just Mosquera than signing John Stones. My approach would be, rather than use the money on the likes of Konza, because I think the left winger and the centre mid are more important. I would put the money into a right back, not Livramento, not somebody that's injury prone, but I would put money into the right back who offers something slightly different to what Timber does, probably slightly more attacking, slightly more overlapping, and then hold on to Ben White, because I mean Ben White's probably a 40-45 million pound player. He's a 40-45 million pound player. Both play right back, both play right centre back, both in and around the England team. I don't see what Konza gives you that Ben White doesn't. Ben White knows the system, knows the club. I think you give him a different squad role. I think he's probably already kind of got that squad role, to be honest. Like, I don't think he's under any illusions that he's going to be our starting right back next season, but I think you sign a right back to cover Timber and to offer something slightly different. In the games we maybe play Hincapié on the left, you sign a more attacking right back to play in those games to give Timber a bit of a break, because he's obviously coming off of a relatively big injury. He's been out for 6 months, missed the World Cup. And then I put Ben White into that position of filling Saliba for the next, however long it might be, 4-6 months.
Yeah, I mean, well, we signed him initially as a right centre back, and then we converted him to a right back. Yeah, I don't know. You don't want to eat up transfer funds on someone like Konza, but we are interested. He's, again, he can cover both right back and right centre back. So yeah, he's a Ben White equivalent without being Ben White, and actually I would say not as good.
Yeah.
So why we do that? And you're right. Ben White was one of those ones that we talked about. We would be open to selling. I'd be very surprised if we did that now. When they were doing the sort of video of people coming back into training yesterday, he's been training every day. He says he feels good. So hopefully he'll be ready for the beginning of the season. And so yes, I think we can make do. Between him and Mosquera at right centre back. Stones, if you could get him 1 year on a free transfer, just pay his wages, I wouldn't be against it if we get a right back as well. I think he was, even though he played a total of 18 games last season, just over 1,000 minutes. He said he wasn't as injured he was made out to be, as in he was on the bench, just wasn't called upon or fell out of favours. Potentially out of contract. He's always been a half decent ball playing defender, so I wouldn't be that against it. Partly just from a free transfer perspective. In a way, I'd rather get him than Konza and keep Ben White. And from a free transfer, bit of experience, a body, you don't have to play him all the time, can dovetail with Mosquera, and stuff like that. I wouldn't be that against it, and I don't think we'd be playing him so much that he would get injured, sort of thing. But yeah, it's Arsenal. What do you expect? But no, I do like the idea of getting in a new right back. With those talks of Fresneda from Sporting Club, young, 21, Spanish, so must be good. I think he's quite an attacking right back. So yeah, but it's just another headache that we have to deal with. That it takes energy and effort away from what we're looking to do. Now that this is the job of our recruitment team of the sort of the staff. But yeah, I'm more like you. Like I said, whatever you do, it's just not going to be able to replace Saliba. So we are automatically not as good next season because of Saliba. So that makes it even more imperative that we do address our attacking downfalls, because last season, we relied on our defensive prowess. That's who we are. That's our identity to get us through. Our identity is now 50% worse off. And so, I'm not even saying 25% because he's got, no, it's 50% worse off. As a result, we need to really lean into going forward, into that forward line.
Especially when you pair that with like Gabriel, brilliant player last season, but there was a noticeable drop off. And then what we've been saying about Declan Rice, like over the past kind of hour or so, like he needs a break as well. So when you take a slight drop off from Gabriel, and you take probably a couple of months out of the kind of, certainly out of the 3 games a week from Declan Rice, we just aren't going to be. We're going to be conceding a lot more chances, and we aren't going to be as defensively sound, and our structure isn't going to look like it did last season. So the imperative to then have that killer going forward is even more, because at least while these players are rested and they are working their way back into full fitness, in Saliba's case, we're going to probably need to outscore teams in a way that we didn't last season if we are going to deliver next season. So it kind of puts even more importance on this, like you're saying, on this potentially even a striker, left winger, centre mid, whoever it might be, whatever combination it ends up being. Because right now I'm not looking at that forward line thinking that we're outscoring teams.
No. We know that we're good at controlling games. We're just not. We're not shot monsters, or even if we do take a lot of shots, we're not converting them. So yeah, you're right. So it's we do need to find, and look, if Rice isn't playing as much, Saliba's not there, just that triangle in front of Raya, we are going to be more defensively vulnerable. So it's going to be interesting. So like with that, the rumor mill continues. You mentioned Guimaraes. Apparently, there's reports that we've started negotiations with them, and then that gets being denied. Who knows where that is? And then talks of Krupi, Alvarez, Rashford, Monde. And unsurprisingly, because he had a half decent World Cup final, Nico Williams is now back in the picture. Alex Scott is not renewing his Bournemouth contract. That gets people talking. Don't know what's real, what's made up, what's smoke and mirrors. And this is the thing, we're in no control here. So we're impatient, no control. So therefore we fill the void with nonsense, anxiety, hope, all of the above. But until it happens, we're just sort of helpless.
Yeah. So who out of that list of players that you kind of rolled off there, who out of that list excites you? Like who do you think will sign? Who actually excites?
Oh, excites me.
Yeah.
It excites me. Guimaraes and Krupi. I would say there's something about Krupa that excites me, that young, fresh, just a breath of fresh air, and maybe it's like I didn't know about him. Tuchel less so, because he can be very hit and miss. Can his ability? He's definitely got pace. He's definitely got skill. Can he do it in a wet Wednesday evening in Stoke? But or basically against low blocks. Don't know. Rashford would be an interesting one. That would be, again, that could be, again, is it papering over? Because he for me is the most equivalent to Rodgers as a left-handed side pivot, because he's got the size. He's not lightning fast, but he's got the size, he's got skillful feet and things like that. So I think that would be, so okay, if Rodgers is your style of player that you want, you pivot to Barclay, well then you're changing your strategy. If you go to Rashford on that one, interesting, and I think he could be quite good, but I don't know what he's like. The old talking, what's he like defensively? What's his mindset like? I think it's fine. That's down to where you are. That's down to where you are. That's down to who you're with, where you are. But will he track back? But he would be interesting. Alvarez, I'm not sold on, because it's hard. We've just seen the World Cup, and he scored that amazing goal, brilliant goal. But then, actually, when I talked about Messi walking around the whole game, I kept on seeing another player walking around a lot, and it was Alvarez, and it kept on, no, that's number 9, not number 10, and it's Alvarez. So I don't know.
I thought Alvarez against England. I thought Alvarez was Argentina's best.
No, against England, but then against Spain, doing a lot of walking. So again, I can see that there again, something different. But it's is Krupi? He excites me, but is he going to take us to the next level, or is he another floor raiser?
Yeah,
I think Rashford.
Krupi is someone you sign in addition to an electric left forward. Like he's 19, 20. He's a player for 2 or 3 seasons, not right now.
Yeah, Guimaraes is the one that I can see be superb, and that would be great. stuff like that. I mean, what about you? Where's your money going if you were to have to spend your money? No, I know take Vinny Jr. out of the equation. That's not happening. I know that's the dream. That's the dream.
Yeah, I guess I just before I come to it, I think the reason I'd asked you is like the question about excitement, specifically not who we would get, but excitement was because I seen that Alex Scott stuff earlier, and I was like, good player, but I just felt a bit disheartened because it just feels as though we're in that bargain basement thing. And then we've heard John Stones today, we've heard like Rashford, yes, decent, but it just doesn't get the juices flowing. It just feels as though we're not capitalising on the opportunity that being Premier League champions affords you. In terms of that list, I actually agree with you. I don't think there's many that excite you. Nico Williams feels to me as though he's just going to be one of those players like Julian Draxler, who's just every season's just linked to Arsenal until he becomes 30 and it just becomes obviously not doable anymore. He signed a 10-year contract at Bilbao. I don't think we're going to get him. Diamande, wasn't overly enamoured with him in the World Cup, but seems to be attracting the interest of PSG. Must be a good player just based on that, because they sign if one position they do sign good players in is wingers. They've got very, very, very good wingers. I think, same as you, Bruno. I like Alvarez. I really do like Alvarez, but there's question marks there. I think I would rather an out and out left, like a touchline left winger. I know you said don't say Vinny, but Vinny, I personally do rate Barcola very highly. So now that we're not getting Morgan Rogers, I would be going hell for leather to get Barcola.
But he's not going to be any cheaper. He's going to be more expensive. He's still going to be 110 plus.
No, it's not about the money for me, though. I think it was about not wanting.
Yeah, I know, but it is for Arteta and Berta.
Oh, yeah. But if they've got a valuation of 130, 140 for Barcola, which I think Barcola's valuation is quite rightly higher than Morgan Rogers. Like, I think we would maybe, I don't know. I can't ever sit here and say Arsenal are going to pay that amount of money. But I think if the valuation is higher and we can get it done, then I think we're almost backing ourselves into a corner of needing to get it done. well, this is the thing. If you're only prepared to pay 90, 100 for Rodgers, and your pivot, is your pivot going to be more expensive? Well, I guess maybe because that's what you're left with. So I don't know. That's a bit bizarre. That's why it feels a bit odd. Hey, prepared to play that for him, then why aren't you prepared? It doesn't marry. It doesn't match up. If you see what I mean, or why is your second choice more expensive than your first choice? Yeah,
and look, value and what you have to pay for someone versus what they're worth in valuation, different things. But it doesn't feel.
Cohesive.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think the word's cohesive. It doesn't really feel like all fits together.
Yeah.
Certainly not right now. 6 weeks out from the end of the. But yeah, I think there's not many players there outside of Barcola and I think Alvarez and Bruno that actually excite me. But I don't think we'll maybe be lucky to get one of them. I don't think we're in a position to get two. Certainly, definitely not three. So then you're looking at the best, and it's like. Just none of them really fill me with a huge amount of confidence, and none of them would be better than having kept Leo Trossard for another season.
Possibly. I'm just waiting until we record the emergency laugh at Tottenham pod when we take Krupi from under their noses at the last second.
Oh, is he going? Yeah.
There we go.
Is he going to Tottenham?
No, but they've talked about it as well. He's just a name, club. There we go. Rumor. So we'll see. Look, again, we don't know what's going on. Who knows? So we just have to sit here, talk shit, and be patient.
Exactly.
And there we go. And so on that note, we'll leave that for today. So thank you, Andy, for joining me this fine Tuesday evening.
Not a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure, never a chore. I said not a pleasure there. Sorry, not a problem.
Yeah, not a pleasure. Yeah,
a pleasure, never a chore.
No worries. Are you off to hit the golf course anytime soon?
Yes, I am. I'm going to go out and maybe try and get 6 or 7 holes in. Starting to get a little bit darker than it was 3 weeks ago, but it should still get some light till about 10 p.m. So I'm going to go and do that, and then playing again tomorrow and Thursday. Good stuff.
Okay, so our next pod will be whenever Arsenal do something different to what they're doing at the moment, or we sign Vinny Jr., one or the other. So let's see. There's no particular plan for now, but then before we know it, we'll have our first friendly against Girona. So that'll be, if nothing happens between now and then, and I bloody hope that's not the case, then we'll be speaking after our first pre-season friendly against Girona. You can follow us on Threads and Blue Sky, X, TikTok, Insta, at the Grove AFC. And as I said before, it'd be very nice if you can leave us a nice 5-star rating and subscribe on the podcast apps, Spotify and Apple, on YouTube at the Grove AFC. Because it just really helps. And you've done so already. Thank you. There we go. So thank you for listening. In Berta we trust, or don't. And until the next time, come on you Gunners.